guys, and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be discussing the Sunderland Till I Die Season 2, a video that has been requested of me so many times over the last couple of weeks. I didn't plan on doing it. I was telling people that I'm not going to do it, and purely because it's quite depressing, isn't it? Both seasons have been just as depressing as each other. Probably not as depressing as the first season, but that's probably because in the second one we see us win a few more games. But I'll go over it and just have a little chat about it. I won't go into too much detail. I've only watched it through the once, and that was a good. Well, it was on the day of release. I watched it all immediately and just binge watched it, and I was very depressed for a good 48 hours afterwards, and I went into hibernation. But I'll talk over a few key points of it. So I think the one thing I did enjoy the one thing I did enjoy with the first season of Sunderland Till I Die was the focus and the fan involvement, the focus on the fans, and we saw a lot more sort of communication with them. There was a lot more dialogue with them, and that really shown what the club was about. Whereas this one, it felt like almost a comedy reality show with Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven. That's absolutely how it felt. There was very little in terms of fan engagement, and I didn't really like that, or at least there was nowhere near as much as I would have liked. It was so heavily based on the Stuart Donald show, or the Charlie Methven show in particular. But anyway, getting into it, so I think the big thing that people want to know what I think is basically, what do I think of Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven? Now, I've said it before, do I think they come with bad intent? Do I think they're chances and charlatans or whatever, what everyone else is saying? No, I don't. But what I do think that they have the best intentions at heart, but they're just simply not good enough at their jobs to run the club. They're just simply not good enough. They don't have the financial backing. They don't have the knowledge, the nous to guide the club in the right direction. They don't have the correct experience at dealing with a club of this size, and that was blatantly obvious to see. There was so many clips in there that I just pissed myself at, because some of the shit that comes out of Charlie Methven's mouth or even Stuart Donald's mouth, it was just like The Office. There was so many Ricky Gervais / David Brent-esque quotes that come out of Charlie Methven's mouth and Stuart Donald. It was a joke, and I can imagine a lot of other fans of other teams found it hilarious, because it was comedy gold. Some of it really was comedy gold. But yeah, like I say, I think that they both do or did have the best intentions at heart. But it was so clear to see how out of the depth that they both are, really. So we'll start off with a couple of little things. So I think in the opening episode, potentially, I think it is, when Jack Ross is first introduced, everything's looking all rosy, and he comes in to meet the players, and Josh Maja is there with Joe Lasoro. Joe Lasoro was a player who I did rate very highly before we did sell him off, but he obviously left and has been warming the bench at Swansea or wherever it has been since. But Jack Ross came in, kind of briefly introduced himself to Josh and to Joel, and as Jack Ross was kind of walking away after his first greeting with Joel kind of looked at Josh, and then he literally looked Jack Ross up and down like he was a piece of shit on his shoe, and I just thought, you little brat. Do you know what I mean? He's just a little stuck-up, spoon-fed little prick. Do you know what I mean? And I hate that. I really hate that. It's like he just thought, yeah, I'm better than you, and I'm off anyway. And I absolutely hated that. So I'm glad he's gone, and I'm glad that he's keeping that bench at Swansea. He's very, very warm, because he absolutely deserves it. He's got a horrible attitude for his age. For me, that's just disgusting. But anyway, moving on to the other lad, Josh Maja. There was a whole episode kind of almost entirely around and surrounding his drama of him leaving the club. Now, that was just a joke. It was an absolute joke. Now, I do believe that there wasn't a massive amount that Stuart Donald could have done to avoid it, because you could see from a mile off that Josh Maja, he was gone. He was long gone before that even negotiations took place. You could say that maybe Stuart Donald could have offered more to him, but I think the agent, and it was clear to see that the agent had Josh definitely not at the forefront of his mind. It was 100%. If he manages to get him a move abroad, then the agent is going to put way more money in his own back pocket, and he didn't have Josh's best interests at heart. But in saying that, he has gone on to do quite well at Bordeaux, so I can't knock him for that. But at the time, he was absolutely firing for us. He was loved by the fans, and you can see with the interview with Josh, when they're asking him, the interviewers are asking, do you know about any offers? And he's just smirking, and he's kind of like twiddling his thumbs and like playing with his chair, and he's kind of just, it's just so childish, and he's just like, you're going to have to talk to my agent about that, with a big cheeky grin on his face. And I know, what do I expect? I don't expect the lad to say, yeah, I'm buggering off. Do you know what I mean? He can't say anything, but it just grinds my gears. Do you know what I mean? And then that brings me on to the replacement topic of of this with Will Grigg, and that was even more of a shit show. What is Stuart Donald doing there? They left it to the last day anyway. Don't get me wrong, a lot of strikers that we're in for were getting massively priced out. Apparently, Doncaster wanted 10 million for John Marquis, and he is not even nearly a fraction of that. Is not worth that. Do you know what I mean? That was absolutely that's ridiculous. And if that is what we're up against, then fair play. There's not much more we could do. But the final day is going in for Will Grigg, of course, and we had 4 or 5 offers, not back, and you could see that Stuart Donald's sort of right hand man saying to him, stop making offers, or speak to Jack Ross. So he speaks to Jack Ross, and Stuart Donald is saying, like, shall we offer 3 million, 2 million, 3 million, whatever it is, and Jack Ross is saying no. If they don't accept 1.5 or whatever it was, I don't even think it's worth that much. But obviously I'll leave it with you, but don't go any higher than that, because I think it's not worth that, and go for someone else. And then Stuart Donald, he just looked like a giddy little school kid running about the office on transfer deadline day in the night, and he was just sitting there giggling away and just throwing money about, and eventually he bit the bullet and offered what can go up to 4 million for Will Grigg, and he's never in a million years, even with, and we said this at the time, even with the goal scoring history that he has and his record, he's never worth that much. He's never worth that much, never in a million years. In League One as well, that's ridiculous. So yeah, that was terrible management and terrible negotiations by Stuart Donald on his part. And like I say, on transfer deadline day, in particular, it's a nightmare to get a deal done and get it over the line and try and get at least a decent deal that suits everyone anyway. I understand that, but 4 million for Will Grigg, come on, man. Do you know what I mean? It was ridiculous. It absolutely was ridiculous. And it does sound exciting at the time when you look at his record and what have you, but even Jack Ross could see it. He said himself, don't go over X amount, because it's going to pile the pressure on Will Grigg. It's going to pile the pressure on Jack Ross. And I think that's what it did. That's exactly what it did. He's come in as a 4 million signing in League One, and he's done garbage since. So Stuart Donald's really put a lot of pressure on both the lads there, Jack Ross and Will Grigg, in spending that amount on a player that really isn't worth it, as Jack Ross said. But yeah, so there's other bits as well. Of course, Charlie Methven, who was such a character. He is such a character, and he definitely went in there to ruffle some feathers, absolutely. And I think he does have, business-wise, he does know what he's doing, and he has a goal that he wants everyone to work towards. You could see he went in there all guns blazing. In meetings, you could see how poor this club was run before they did arrive. There was times where, I think there was one meeting where Charlie Methven said, I sent you all out emails and briefings on what we're going to do. Can anyone speak to me about that? And they all looked at him like absolute idiots. They're just like, no, we didn't read it. And Charlie Methven was just like, well, okay, well, if you did read it, you'd find out that we're losing this amount, we're losing this amount, and we're losing this amount, because none of them are doing the job, essentially, then. I'm thinking, sack them all then. Do you know what I mean? And you've got that, there was quite a controversial moment, which a lot of people did speak about after the series, and that was Charlie Methven's altercation with the member of staff. She's the sort of advertising, I don't know what the role it was exactly she played. It was the kind of advertising role, wasn't it? The Irish woman. And they had a bit of an altercation where Charlie Methven did use some pretty bad language towards her. Now, it was kind of, a lot of people were saying he's an arsehole for it. For me, I think it was 100% justified. Do I believe he should speak to a woman like that, or anyone like that? No. But I think why he got so annoyed, and the reason behind it, it was absolutely justified, because that woman, she had a terrible attitude from the off. There was meetings where she's sat there at the back of the room, shrugging her shoulders, arms folded, and her just whole demeanour was shite for someone who has a role like that at the club. And then, of course, it comes to the Boxing Day sales for the Bradford game at the Stadium Light, where we're trying to hit and beat the record in League One attendances. So of course, Charlie Methven's on it. He really wants to get it done, and he's doing everything he possibly can, and he's working his arse off. He is a workhorse, that man. I'll give that to him, even though I do think he's a bit of a tit. He is an absolute workhorse, and he's trying to get this figure, and he really wants to hit it. So it's half time at the Stadium Light, and he says to this Irish woman, he's just saying, right, okay, I need you to ring the ticket office and get the numbers. And then she's like, oh well, I don't know whether I can do it. And then he's like, just go get the numbers now. We need to hit these numbers. And then she was like, right, okay then. Well, if we don't hit it, hey ho, tap thing. And then he was like, no. If we don't hit it, do you know what I mean? And it was just her demeanour. She just clearly didn't have the same vision. She didn't have the right attitude. And I think, if you are going to defend Stuart or Charlie in any way, look at the staff they were working with. A lot of them were absolutely fantastic. Don't get me wrong. 99% of them were. But you could see there was the odd bad egg in there. And I'm not going to completely slate her, because don't get me wrong, I can imagine there was a lot of stuff off camera that probably weren't pleasant viewing if that was a running theme of the way Charlie spoke to her. But for me, she just looked like she had a terrible piss poor attitude, and she ended up moving. I think she now has a job at the Foundation Light. I believe anyway, from what I've seen around Twitter. But yeah, so that's pretty much it really. Of course, towards the end, it was just the same old. Sad ending of a Sunderland till I die season. Of course, the last one was about us getting relegated from the Championship. This one was losing in the playoff final against Charlton in the last second of the game, and yeah, that was hard to take. It was really hard to watch again. I found it very, very difficult. So as a programme, it was a difficult watch. There were some very interesting bits, but for me, like I say, in conclusion, I think the fans should have been included a lot more. I know that from what I've seen on Twitter, there's quite a few fans that were spoke to, but that wasn't included, which is, that's fair, whatever, not everyone's getting involved. I got interviewed myself, and I'm quite happy that it didn't get put on actually, because I had about 6 or 7 or 8 pints down me by the time they actually recorded me, so God knows what I said to them. But there's people like Mickey Gray, who was a bit upset that he didn't get on it. He would have been great to put, an interview with him before the Charlton game, the playoff final, because obviously with everything that happened previously with him in previous encounters with Charlton, which obviously we know, that would have been interesting. And I feel like they just focused far too heavily on Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven. But it was okay. It was okay. I mean, for a Sunderland fan, it's not great viewing. We know what's coming. We're losing in the community. Carabao. What the hell am I talking about? The Checker Trade. We lost in the Checker Trade final, of course, and then the playoff final. So that was never going to be a happy ending for us. We knew exactly what was coming. But yeah, so that's pretty much my thoughts on it, really. But it'd be very interesting to see what you guys thought. I know this is very late in comparison to others, but like I say, it's just got to the point where my inbox is just getting flooded with people saying, why aren't I making a review on it? But that's it, basically. It was the Charlie Methven and Stuart Donald show, and no more, no less, really, for me. But again, let me know in the comments what you think about it. But if you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button for me. It would be massively, massively appreciated. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already to become a fully fledged member of the Sarny Army. But for now, you take care and stay jamming.